Hey Stampers, Kim from StampingImperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. So I did a little bit of stash diving today. I decided that it's time to start pulling out some of the stuff that I haven't used in a while and just make a fun project. And every now and then, when I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, Stampin' Up! Came out with great kits making paper flowers. And I recently took a class at Alta New Academy that was all about, I forget what the name of the class was. Let me see if I can find it. Paper Crafting and Beyond. And the point of the class was to use your stash. I have, as I unpacked boxes, I realized I have a lot of great stuff and I didn't want to get rid of it because I am literally retiring in 8 months, and this is my 30th year teaching. So I'm going to be on a fixed income, and I love doing all this stuff. Like, I bought all that stuff because I love it, and there's no reason to put it in a landfill or donate it to somebody else who will put it in a landfill. So let me show you what I've pulled out. I have I can't even imagine how old these are. This is an old embroidery hoop, but it was, really think this is from the 80s. I hate to confess, I think this is from the 80s. I have 2 of these. I thought they were beautiful. I have no intention of using this as an embroidery hoop. Obviously, it's decorative. It's meant to be decorative. And this one, in fact, the inside cracked, and I still didn't throw it away. So I'm going to put this one away because it's not cracked. And I'm going to take this cracked one because I'm going to make a wreath out of it. I like that it's already got a hook on it. And if you were a crafter in the 80s like me, you know we did all kinds of stuff with these hoops. I'm going to make a wreath out of it. So this is just going to be the base of my wreath. So it doesn't matter that there are some cracks here. I also pulled out 2 different kinds of, I love natural fibers. So I really love like this burlap ribbon and this jute. I really love them. So they will go in there somehow. I've pulled out some paper. Like you can see, I die cut a bunch of flower pieces, and I pulled out this is the only thing that is new, and these are papers from Alta New. This is my Totally Tiffany, by the way. This is my Totally Tiffany fab file, and you can see I have my papers organized. I love this organizer, like super love this organizer. I have become a huge fan of Totally Tiffany. So that is keeping my 6x6 papers super organized and actually quite protected. But the 2 paper packs that I'm using Alta New's Verdant Walk paper pack and their Pastel Dreams paper pack. So I just picked a few pieces from each one. And I liked the Verdant Walk because the greens gave me lots of opportunities to cut out leaves. And then there were lots of, you can see lots of, yellows and pinks and a little bit of blues, like lots of nice colors here for florals. So I want to do that. And another thing I pulled out was some old dies. Like, how long has it been since you used a Biggs die? And I realize that the new technology with the framelits that Sizzix has is a much better technology, because when I put a piece of paper down, there was a lot of waste on the paper. With these Sizzix, I realized I could really, really squeeze things in and get a lot out of one sheet of paper. But I love, this one is the Fun Flowers Biggs die. It's a big long die. I loved this one. I used this a lot. This was a very well loved. I will never get rid of this because I really like it. I should never say never, right? Then I pulled out, and I don't even think I have these on the right ones. I pulled out, I just picked some flower ones, and I just pulled stuff off each one. I don't know if I got them back in the right places. One is Flower Fair framelits, one is Secret Garden. You can't even get those anymore. Like, I don't think you can get any of these. And then this is actually also new. I actually got this free. This is a Sizzix Thinlits die. It's the flower scallop. And I got this free a month or two ago from scrapbook.com. A lot of the stamp companies actually have a lot, you know, give a lot of free stuff away. And on scrapbook.com, before you order, always look under their coupons, because the coupons might include something free with a qualifying order. So like, that's a fun thing. Or, you know, for a hugely discounted price. Then of course, I don't know if you have one of these, but I've got, this is one of 2 jars of buttons. Okay, my mother always said never throw away buttons. I got some of these from garage sales. I love bottles of buttons. So I got a lot of pretty buttons here. I'm thinking I can use those somehow. And then I also have my hot glue gun. Actually, I have 2 hot glue guns and not very much hot glue, because the hot glue went with me to school for an engineering project for my AP Physics class, and I forgot to buy more. By the way, this is, I just got this, oops, crash, sorry, I wanted to tip it over to show you. I just got this. This is a desk-made hot glue gun holder, also from Totally Tiffany. I really like this. I've been, for a while, trying different ways to store my hot glue, because I use a lot of hot glue for all kinds of projects, and this is actually super useful. Like, I eventually will store actual hot glue sticks in that pocket. And I saw on her website or on her Twitter yesterday or the day before that people have decorated these with pattern paper and stuff, so you can like personalize those. Like, I think that's super cool. We could bejewel it, some of us, right? Okay, so I took those, I took all of those dies and I just went crazy. So I am going to make a bunch, and then I'm going to put them together, and I may have to go cut out some more. Now this one, I want to think, yep. So this one, I believe, this did not come with instructions. It came in a little plastic thing, but I recall having a larger one, or borrowing a larger one, or using a larger one, and you just kind of, you could actually just cut a circle of paper. Like, I think it would be nice to actually have this slightly larger, and you just fold this around and, you know, hot glue it. So that's what I should be doing, actually. I'm going to put a dab of hot glue on this, and I mean dab, so I don't run out here. Oops, this is 2. I only want one of these. I like this hot glue holder. I've been looking for a solution for a while. I bought one of those, it's almost like a silicone thing, and it's supposed to like drape over the edge of the table. It's like a pocket. That did not work well for me. I don't think my house is level. I think I did tell you that we are living in a fixer-upper. So it's built in 1950, and it's been added on to by a lot of people. I can't even imagine. It's only 4 rooms. I don't know what this started out like. I can't imagine. But it's nice not having, like, my other house wasn't big, but it had a lot more bedrooms, and once the kids moved out, we weren't using them. So I'm just going to roll this and add hot glue every now and then. And then I may add another one to the outside of it. And I think that I want to keep each level higher as I go along. Oh, hot glue is hot. And I'm just going to make a bunch of, you know, flowers. Now I could use this as the center of a flower, or maybe I'll grab another one of these papers and just cut out a little bit more of this paper, or just continue on with the next one. But I'm just going to keep adding on, and When I'm all done, I'm going to put a button in the middle. Yes, I am, because those buttons, they are getting used. So I might, and this is actually the same paper, I'm just going to flip it over and use the back, because I'm going to assume that the designers at Altenew coordinated all of these papers together, front and back, so that they could work, so that if somebody randomly picked papers out of that package, they would all work beautifully. So, and what I'm going to do with this is, by the way, where am I going to put something with paper flowers? I'm going to put it outside on my porch. We have like sort of two entries at our house, and I'm using that term loosely. We have two doors, and either could be considered a front door, I suppose, but the one that's technically, I think, the front door, the FedEx guy thinks is the front door, but the UPS man does not. He uses the other door. It's like a little tiny square covered porch. I mean, you couldn't, it's not big enough to sit out there. Okay, so I could keep going with this. I think I might stop there with that one, but you get the idea. So you could do something like that. Then I have these scallops, and I cut a bunch of different ones because I thought some dark blue might look nice in these pastels. I was trying to like keep it Eastery. So I'm going to pull out my, I'm just going to slice down here every couple of petals like that, so that I can fold them up and do kind of the same thing with these, because I want them to have a little dimension, because it, like, I don't have a good way to attach this to my door unless I attach some kind of hook to my door. And when we moved here, I had to put new doors in because the people who own the house had two big dogs that damaged every door in the house. So all the doors were really in bad shape. And so the doors really need to be replaced. So I don't want to put a hook on my brand new door. I know that sounds silly, but I just don't want to. Okay, so the center one will be a little bit tighter than the other ones. This is a low temperature. If you're wondering why I'm not screaming in agony, it is a low temperature glue gun because I know myself. I always stick my fingers in the glue. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with another one, only this time I think I'm just going to kind of bend these. So I just cut two. They sort of look like hearts, don't they? So I'm just going to bend these a little bit. Just want to give it a little dimension, and then I'll glue this one on. And you could, you know, use a different color. I'm going to just use the same one, like that. And then when I'm all done, I'll put some buttons on the inside. So I'll do the same thing with these. So I'm just going to continue on here, and I'm taking little layers, and I'm just going to sort of fold them up a little bit and give them a little bit of dimension, and then I'm going to glue layers together. And I'll combine different petals from the different die cuts to create just different layered flowers. Some will be pretty flat, some will be really dimensional like the first few that I made there. I'm going to combine different papers just to give it some pops of color. I just want to have something fun to hang outside my front door. And since this is like under a roof, it's in a protected little spot um, on the outside of my house, so it's not going to get a lot, it's not going to be exposed to a lot of the elements. So the one thing I love about doing projects like this is I am stash diving, so I'm pulling out stuff that has been in my stash for um, a long while, and I will not feel bad when I get sick of this and I'm ready to just let it go. You know, I'll recycle the pieces and, you know, recycle what can be recycled and then just get rid of the rest or reuse the rest if the frame is still usable after it's been hanging outside for a while. So I'm just going to continue on and put some flowers together, and I'll come back and share what I've created with you. So here you can see I've got a bunch of different flowers, and the larger one there I just put a bunch of layers together from all different kinds of flowers, and I used different paper. I used scraps of cardstock from my scrap file, and please pardon that cord that from my camera that's just wandering around. Like it's just slowly ebbing its way in here. So I'm just pulling out some buttons in all different colors. I have a lot of coral buttons, which I actually really like with this, and some of the green ones I really like, and I'm just pulling out, you know, some pretty ones. There's some that have a lot of texture to them, some cream colored ones. So I'm just going to hot glue a button into the middle of each of these just for fun, and, you know, just to use some more things in my stash. At this point, I've got the buttons all hot glued in, and it just takes a dab of hot glue. So I'm going to pull that hoop back, and I've pulled out that burlap ribbon. I really love burlap ribbon. I got most of my ribbons from Stampin' Up, and I have stopped buying ribbon because I'll use a little bit of ribbon and then I'll have the rest of the roll left, and it just seems to go to waste. And it was stockpiling, so I decided no more ribbon until I use up the ribbon that I have. So I wrapped some of that burlap ribbon around, and I just tied a knot at each end and just wrapped it around about a third of the wreath, third to maybe a quarter to a third of the wreath. And now I'm just gluing on some of the greenery toward the top part, like around 9 or 10 o'clock. And I'm just going to add a flower and then add a couple more pieces of greenery. I cut out some big leaves. So I'm just, you know, I cut out some of these big leaves from one of those framelit sets, from one of my old framelit sets. I've had those sets for a long time. They got a lot of love for a long time, and then of course new stuff comes in and then you forget about the old stuff. So it's kind of fun to pull out this old stuff. You feel a little less guilty when you pull stuff out and use it, especially if it's been sitting around for a while and hasn't gotten some love. So I just continue to add a dab of glue, and I'm tucking in some little leaves there around the flowers, and putting a couple leaves below each flower, and then adding another flower, and I just continue this on, and I'm going to go down to where I created that other knot. So I'll just keep adding this on, and I'm finding this really relaxing, and I'm super happy to be doing something other than a card or a scrapbook page or a journaling page, because I've mostly been doing that kind of stuff lately, and it felt really good to just pull out some other crafty goodness from my stash, and it feels good to make something that I'm going to use somewhere in my house. And, you know, I always have trouble deciding, is this ugly, or are people going to look at this and think, what was she thinking? But if they do, you know what? I enjoyed this afternoon making this, and I will ask my husband's opinion before I put it up. I'm always surprised what he likes and what he doesn't like. So you can see I'm just tucking things in, and I want to add a little of that dark blue. I like that it's got stripes of all those other colors, so I think that's super fun. I put like a purple or raspberry button in the middle, And I mean, it's been so long since I've used a button on any project, so I'm excited to be using that. So now I'm getting toward the end. I just have 2 flowers left, and I'm putting some of those real leafy sprigs on, just like I did at the top, so that will give me a pretty end. And I'll add the last 2 flowers and tuck in some more of the leaves. And I'm going to have some pieces left over, which is okay because I'll put those in. I have a little cup on my desk I store that stuff in, so when I do scrapbooking or my journals or something like that, I can pull that stuff out. And like I've given this a lot of like there's actually a lot of like body there. I've really filled it in and I really like it, but I feel like it needs just a little something more. So I decided that I'm examining it here. I have a little bit of the burlap ribbon sticking up off the top, and I kind of like that. And there's a little piece sticking up off the bottom. So I'm just going to take some more burlap and tuck it in some places with hot glue. I started clipping off, I don't know, like 3 or 4 inch lengths of that burlap and just hot gluing it to the back so that a little bit stuck out on the center of the wreath and a little bit stuck out in the back of the wreath. And I probably put 3 or 4 of those in and sort of spaced them out there. And then I decided I would like some more of that purple color. So I pulled out some, I think this is actually Stampin' Up! Berry Burst ribbon I've had for probably a year. So I'm just cutting off maybe a 4-inch piece, folding it in half, and then I'm hot gluing it to the underside of some of the leaves. And I'm going to put some pointing in toward the center of that wreath and some pointing out because I really like this pop of color. And I felt like there was a lot of coral in there and a lot of green, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, and I just wanted to balance it with a stronger color. I'm not a huge pastel fan in general, um, so I just really wanted that darker color in there, and I really liked how it ended up after I got this done. So I'm just, filling it in and adding some touches and just completing my wreath. And this gave me an excuse to use another just roll of ribbon that's been sitting there on my pretty ribbon rack for like a year that I haven't touched. So it's a good excuse to use some of that up. So that's going to complete this project, and I have to say I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out considering those flowers are made from paper. I used some pretty burlap ribbon and some pretty of the purple berry burst ribbon and an old embroidery hoop KRAFT frame that's already got a hook on it, so it's kind of perfect. And that is actually going to look it's actually going to look kind of nice. My door is green, so I may actually try hanging it with like a command hook on my front door because it's thin enough. I can't get a regular wreath there if I were to use silk flowers because there's not enough space between the door and between the front door and the storm door, but certainly this is thin enough that if you're limited on space between a front door and a storm door, this will fit. And it's kind of fun. It's bright and happy. It'll look nice for spring. It'll be kind of welcoming for guests. You could put a sentiment on there if you wanted to. You could include, some other embellishments that you have, but that's going to complete this project. And I will share a picture of this hanging on my door on my blog at stampingimperfection.com. And I don't have any links to include below except for the Altenew paper. But thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like and share with your friends, and make sure you subscribe to my channel.